Joining us now, Congressman James Comer. He's a ranking member of House Oversight, and the former chair of the White House Council of Economic Advisors is Thomas Phillipson. It's great to have you both on. It's good to see you both. First to you, Congressman Comer. The White House may cut off Russia's banks entirely from dealing with any U.S. bank or individual. It's going to that would cut off Russia's bank from international financial networks. It would hit Russia's economy hard. How would Russia respond to that?
Well, I think Russia is prepared for that. I think they know that we're going to implement the most severe sanctions that's ever been handed down by the United States Congress, and I think Putin's prepared. Unfortunately, when you do sanctions on a country, the people that are affected most are the average citizens. Putin's one of the wealthiest individuals in the world. I think his government's prepared. They're going to do whatever their end goal is, and it appears their end goal is to invade a big part of Ukraine.
Yeah, to the congressman's point, Thomas, if this goes into a hot war and Russia invades Wall Street, if Russia invades Ukraine, sorry about that. Whoa. Wall Street is warning we may see gas at $5 per gallon.
Yeah, I mean, the contrast couldn't be bigger here. We had, under Trump, we had energy independence and no wars. And now, a year into Biden, we have energy dependence created all over the world, particularly between Germany and Russia. And we consequently have a war situation. I think this is sort of a self-inflicted pain here going on, but it's a very big threat to energy prices because of the policies that Biden are pursuing. If he wasn't pursuing these policies, it wouldn't be such a big threat.
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear, Congressman. What Thomas is saying, it's a setup leading into what's going on with Russia and Ukraine. And now the White House is indicating it would shut down the Nord Stream 2 pipeline after it green lighted it. And that gave Putin a lot of, leverage over Europe and Germany. Is that a big deal now? Is Russia just going to blow that off?
Well, Russia will probably just blow it off. I mean, Vladimir Putin is not afraid of Joe Biden. The debacle in Afghanistan is having consequences. And the consequences today are what we're seeing happening on the border between Russia and Ukraine. What a lot of people don't realize is Russia is the second biggest oil producer in the world. So whatever happens from a turmoil standpoint, it's going to affect every consumer. As you mentioned early on, gas prices could be $5 a gallon. That's a 25% increase from what's already been about a 100% increase under Joe Biden. So the American people are going to have to hunker down and realize that the policies that Joe Biden implemented by executive order on day one, canceling the Keystone Pipeline, banning federal drilling, more regulations on drillers and offshore drilling. These consequences are going to have an immediate impact on inflation and everything that they purchase at the grocery store and at the gas pump.
So, undercutting the U.S. oil boom, Thomas, that's the issue. It's national security and safety versus climate change. Europe made decisions on climate that left their citizens vulnerable. It looks like it's happening here in the U.S. I want you to take a listen to this. Now the U.S., by the way, is more dependent on OPEC and Russia supplies than ever before. Rashida Tlaib, progressive far-left squad member, she is saying, the Defense Production Act, which both the Trump White House and the Biden administration is using for the pandemic, she's saying now use it for climate change. Watch this.
President Biden can reinstate right now the crude oil export ban. This was overturned in 2015, a major driver of the oil shale boom, by declaring a national emergency under the National Emergencies Act. He can also direct the Department of Energy to reject applications for gas exports. President Biden can marshal federal funds and coordinate the action of private companies to jumpstart a thriving domestic renewable energy industry. These, this kind of includes like manufacturing, installing, green energy systems, energy efficiency technology, electric transportation infrastructure, all of it under the Defense Production Act.
Okay, gang in the control room, show the viewer the boondoggles, the bankrupt boondoggles in green energy under the Obama White House that the far left continues to ignore in making these arguments. So she's saying destroy union jobs in oil and gas beyond the 11,000 gone when Biden stopped the Keystone Pipeline, Thomas. Can they unionize green energy jobs? Would Silicon Valley go for that? Look at the boondoggles that went belly up under Obama.
Yeah, I mean, these boondoggles are a sign. So if you look at the VC, the venture capital industry, which funds a lot of new companies in general, they fail about 90% of the time. And they have the right incentives. They get rewarded when they do well. They lose money when they do poorly. So you know for sure that it's going to be a waste of government or tax money when the government is going to go in and pick companies here to invest in with the wrong incentives. There's no bureaucrat that's better or worse off depending on the company's failing or not. So I think it's very dangerous to have the government doing that kind of activity. But in general here, I think the Democrats they're just really looking for another crisis not to waste, essentially. And this was long coming. This is, everyone expected that global warming would be the next COVID in this respect.
We hear you. It's striking when you go out, Congressman, and talk to folks out there, and the people who only listen to the craziness and hysteria that pundits and others bring on MSNBC, even CNN. It's Misleading Americans. The conversation is just so wacky that the country is on the verge of white supremacy or fascism and Jim Crow. If you listen to this anchor and this guest, you would believe, yeah, that might be true. It's not. Watch this.
There's no way of actually saying what is in Justice Breyer's mind, but I do believe that the urgency of this moment, the fact that the country is very clearly on a precipice of fascism and a return to Jim Crow, the sweeping attack on voting rights in this country, and the very real threat that we have of seeing what happened, for example, with the consequences of Ruth Bader Ginsburg passing during the Trump presidency.
Can you be impeached for incompetency, Congressman? Because we've studied the government documents on the white supremacy and what the FBI and DOJ is saying about it. We understand about that, about domestic terror threats. But what she is totally misleading in her rhetoric, and MSNBC and CNN keeps pumping that poison out into the American bloodstream, and we've got the lunatics running around the country thinking that's true when it's not. Your final word, Congressman.
Well, it's not true, and they're going to continue to play the race card. They're going to continue to try to fire up their left-wing socialist base. That's all they have. They're going to continue to try to take advantage of every crisis to be able to try to implement their Green New Deal. That's what Tlaib wants and Ocasio-Cortez, and it's very unfortunate. I think the American people are seeing what inflation's all about, and hopefully they're realizing that this is a direct result of the Biden policies of the first year.